When this first came out, there's a bit of hype around it. After all, it's the first Japanese competitor you can buy to all the other Chinese EVs out there. This is, after all, the Honda EN1. Honda Malaysia's first ever BEV, as well as the regional markets, neighboring markets, newest and latest, and the only Honda BEV. So, what do you think about it? Join me as we find out together. I'll be driving this thing from Kuantan all the way down to KL, and I'll tell you how it is along the way. Let's go. But first, we'll talk design. On the front, it's very similar to the Honda HR-V. You have the same headlights, but without the driving beam nor the cornering lights like the HR-V facelift RS. We have working vents over here to cool the brakes presumably, and also LED fog lights down here. Charging port is inside here, of course, and this is how you open it. You press this, and it pops open for both AC and DC charging. So you plug in the port over here, but it also has a small light here, which is very thoughtful when you want to charge it at night. These two things here are indicators, so they'll show you how much battery you have to charge left instead of looking inside the car. And yeah, that's the whole front end of the EN1.
Along the sides, it gets 18-inch dual-tone alloy wheels that are different from any other variant of the HR-V, but the rear is a bit harder to differentiate. The taillights echo those on the V-spec HR-V, but the big difference is the Honda typescript on the boot lid and the EN1 logo on the left side of the boot. And of course, this being an EV, it hasn't got exhaust pipes.
Okay, so we are in the Honda EN1. Now coming in, the first thing you will see is it's like an HR-V, and that's the point. The dashboard is the same design. The multimodal three-way airflow thing is also at the same place. The steering wheel is the same. And the screen and the meter are places where you normally expect them to be. What is nice about this whole thing is everything is as simple as to operate as a normal car. So wipers is this with a stalk. Signal is a stalk. For some people, that's groundbreaking, yeah? So yeah, these things are here. Pedal shifters are here not for changing gears, but for the brake regen modes. And the biggest difference you will see is the interior. So rather than having a gear shifter, you have buttons for gears. But the cup holders, the center console box, and also the wireless charger and the EBB are all in the same place, right? The biggest change is, of course, this huge screen in the middle. But despite that, things aren't really so different. I know I've complained before about having a screen to do all the car stuff, and I'm sure if you read my articles from other colleagues as well, they might say the same thing. But as far as the EN1 goes, the difference is in the execution. So this screen is split into three parts. At the bottom, you have your aircon. In the middle, you have your trip computer, EV menu, power flow, settings, all that kind of stuff. And at the top, you have your navigation. So Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, even the car's built-in map is at the top over here, right? It also has a charging map kind of stuff over there, but we'll see that later. Anyways, what's different about this is how legible and how logical the placements are. So instead of having to adjust aircon, like scroll this down, swipe it and go in, some cars do that, right? This one is all here. Fan speed, middle. Off and on the right. Recirculation, here. Auto aircon, here. Temperature sync, here. So, while it's still a screen-based format, and maybe I need to get used to the idea first, you can still drive this car and press what you want as you drive, right? This is my experience. So, the difference is how they lay it out and how much better it is when it's all in the same logical manner. Onto the back, the rear size is pretty much like the Honda HR-V. So for someone like me who's 175 cm tall, you get about this much of legroom, about, yeah, a fist width, and also a fist width worth of headroom on top. So for a small family or you use the HR-V size, this is pretty much doable for an everyday driving feel. Now, what's good about this is the rear, the bottom part, the floor of it is flat. So you don't have that weird tunnel thing you have in most other, sometimes even cheaper EVs in the middle here. And the position is nice because you don't sit like this. Some cars, if you notice, tend to bunch up like this, and it's quite painful for a long journey. So one thing I would say not so shocked about the EN1 is that you don't get the multi-utility seats. People last time remember the name as Ultra seats. So at the back, you get two cup holders that fold out. And if you want to put longer stuff, you can by folding the rear seats down. Right, one side this side and one side this side for 60-40 configuration. But you cannot pull this thing back up again to keep tall things like a plant or whatever. So yeah, that is the niggle I have about the interior. One more thing, you don't get a powered boot, so obviously no kick sensor as well. But How to open a boot is by doing this. You put your hand in here and you press the button and you pull it up. Boot space, not that bad. It's about the same as HRV, but of course you don't get the seats like I said earlier. So you can only push that thing down and have something longer in here. But yeah, boot is manual labor. So for our drive back, the car is at 98%, very nearly full, and about 315 km of range to go. Our drive is about 225 km approximately, taking us through B roads and also the very fast flowing Karak Highway. Okay, we're in no rush anyway, so back in KL, I'll tell you about what's our average trip consumption and also the remaining charge and battery life after that. Let's go! Okay, so the journey back to KL from Kuantan has started. And to give it a more real-world feel, we have 3 drivers in the car. Because there's me, there's also Tim, and there's also Caleb at the back there. So we will change drivers along the way. So each of us have different driving styles. So we will see whether you can still get to KL on single full charge. So onwards we go. So as you can see, we are sitting behind of the Honda EN1 right now, and like I said earlier, the space is pretty ample. So we're now tackling some curves along Karak Highway. Body roll is well contained, at least for me as a passenger at the back. I don't really feel like I'm wobbling around or anything like that. And that's good for avoiding car signals, stuff like that. Anyways, now let's look at the space we have. So if we switch the camera in front, this is how much space we have for the legroom. My feet go underneath this. There's enough, more than enough knee space over here. If I want more comfort, there is aircon vents. And up top, like I said earlier, headroom is still pretty ample. So yeah, this is how it is to sit at the back of the EN1. Pretty good seats so far. Good back support, good thigh support. If a little short at the front so that your knees are hanging a bit, but not so bad lah, boleh lah. Okay, so as promised, we are now driving the Honda EN1 across the back roads. This is behind Karak Highway on the way down from Kuantan down to back to KL lah. So the EN1, rather unsurprisingly, feels very nice on the back roads. Perhaps it's the stable suspension and also the lower center of gravity, but it feels a lot more planted, a lot more sorted in these kind of roads compared to a regular HRV. I also think that even in this brief experience, the EV powertrain feels really at home with this body, with this HRV's body, even though we know the chassis is different, right? It really feels like it belongs here. Especially in the back roads when you need fast acceleration, it has that. And if you play with the brake regen pedals, it also slows the car down rather considerably. And yeah, because it's compact as well, it doesn't really feel like it's always shifting under your feet, so to speak. And I quite like it on the back road. So if you like an EV that can also go up, you know, once in a while, it's kind of to see roads, a while drive your family on the weekends and weekdays, this is pretty high up the list. Okay, on the highways, the EN1 is actually a spec. The EV powertrain is smooth, it's quiet, and I think the biggest difference between this and most of its other rivals, the Chinese rivals for one, is in the way it drives. The steering has a quite well-weighted feel. You don't feel the steering is like too light. You know, some cars you just feel very light all the time. The steering feels nice. There's a nice weight to it that allows you to tell where the front wheels are as you're turning, and also quite responsive when you're moving the car around. Just one comment though, I said when we were going on more faster turns, higher speed curves perhaps, the car tends to feel like a little washy. I suspect it's because of the tires, which are low resistance to prioritize range, so they may not have the best grip performance. So I suspect it's those rather than the car's inherent qualities. So that's one. But overall, I feel like this is the best powertrain for the HRV body. It's quiet, it's nice, and if you really need, right, you can use up the 300 plus Nm of torque to really punch your way forward like this. And it's smooth. It's not like, whoa, pin you in the seat. It's just smooth, linear, and very easy to manage. So that's a plus point, and great job on that, Honda. Very nice. So after about 2.5 hours of driving from Kuantan all the way back down to a meetup point in KL, we have safely made it here in one piece and of course with range to spare. If you remember, we began the drive with 98% battery and about 225 km of driving to do, and after 3 driver changes and a whole lot of driving, we have made it back to PJ with 21% battery, and 72 km of range left. In total, the car says we did an average of 4.6 km per kilowatt hour. Now, point to note, we didn't stop for charging, and even though we had 3 drivers with different driving style, we drove normally, overtook where we had to overtake, tekan when we had to tekan, and also just basic normal driving, right? No hypermiling and stuff like that. So yeah, if you don't know whether the car can take you on a long distance drive, it can. So that's the first drive of the Honda EN1 in Malaysia. There you have it, our first Malaysian drive of the Honda EN1 BEV here. What I think about it? To recap, it's a car with many pluses but also a few flaws, because let's face it, no car is perfect. This one may be a bit weak in the sense of having fancy features, but it more than makes up for it in a very engaging drive. It's a very familiar car to use, and that's where I think its charms lie. You go in, you're not confused about where everything is. The screen is big, yeah, it's different, but the aircon control is there, the screen, the maps are over there, everything is where you expect it to be, and it's just not difficult to use on a daily basis. So that's why I feel if you're looking for an EV for a family, this should be on your shopping list. Thanks for watching. I'm Sanjay from WapCar. Follow me on all social media channels, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care and bye-bye.